All right, I'll make a motion to open the regular planning board meeting for May 1st, 2024.
Second.
Member Shannon?
Aye.
Member Loda?
Aye.
Member Hoppin?
Aye.
Member Cook?
Aye.
Chair Felicia?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, so for starters, welcome everybody that's here in the audience. I want to go over the order in which we're going to discuss things. First one is 25 Eastview Terrace. We will do that. The next one is 5 Sutherland, and the last application we'll discuss tonight is 5 State Street. 2 of these were carried over, 5 Sutherland and 5 State Street. We heard at our meeting, what was that, 2 weeks ago, a week ago?
About a week, I think it was a week ago.
A week ago.
Anyway. Oh, we had a few
It was
meetings.
a week ago, yeah.
We had a few meetings, okay. I'm almost confused now. Anyway, so we've had a couple applications carried over. That said, I was informed we have a couple of, just so everyone's aware, I think most of the applicants are made aware, I think for both 25 Eastview Terrace and 5 Sutherland, there is a notice issue. One, I think it needed to get published in the newspaper, and another one, we had one notice advertised and one other application wasn't. But anyway, the moral of the story is what we're looking at doing, I believe for 25 Eastview and 5 Sutherland Street, I believe we're in a situation where I don't believe we can act on those tonight. We can't vote on them tonight.
Well, so the site plan was not noticed in time, but the other ones were noticed from the meeting a month ago.
Okay, so 5 Sutherland, we can talk about variances.
And, right.
If we want to.
Garage, right, correct. And then the site plan would have to be at a different meeting.
So the site plan would have to be at a different meeting
Yes.
if we wanted to split these up.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
But what we're talking about doing amongst us, just so everyone's aware, is if we have a need for a carryover, another meeting, we're discussing scheduling another meeting to continue hearing these, and that would be on the 15th of May. Should that be how it's going to go. So your recommendations on, first of all, on 25 Eastview Terrace, which didn't get the newspaper.
Right.
What are your recommendations for how we handle that tonight? Just get a brief introduction and not open the public hearing? Or
Definitely not open the public hearing. I would just do it at the next meeting.
just do it the next meeting?
Yeah, because yeah.
Okay.
If they want to talk briefly, that's fine, but
We just do an information.
yeah.
Information only, yeah.
No, like full discussions.
Okay. All right, so we can discuss maybe how we generally approach the review process, but not get into any details particular to their project.
Well, they can present.
Yeah, they can
project.
present.
Right.
Is that, okay,
No, like asking questions and all that.
okay. All right, then that sounds fair then. The folks at 25 Eastview Terrace, do you want to come up and just generally talk a little bit about your project and give us an introduction to it?
Sure. Sit here.
Wherever you're comfortable.
Yeah, you sit here. And just so you're aware, I mean, the primary thing we're interested in is kind of how the project you're working on impacts adjacent properties. So things that we're usually interested in is understanding what drainage is occurring, is water going onto neighboring properties, is it being accommodated in your plans? Things like light fixtures, or light glare going into your neighbor's yard, or do you have light fixtures that are reasonably contained and just putting it on the ground in your own yard? And then sometimes, we don't look a lot at this for residential properties, but concerns sometimes are for landscaping. We don't really regulate residential landscaping, but if you want to talk a little bit about what your proposal is to do there, we'll listen to what you have to say about that.
Okay. I mean, first, I don't think that we're asking for any variances.
No, it's just a site plan.
Yeah. I mean, those details that you just mentioned, I would leave to my architect to discuss at the actual meeting.
Okay.
Fair enough.
But in general, the house sits in the middle of a fairly large lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, in the summer, we can't even see any of our neighbors really. I don't think it's going to affect them likewise or anything else. The landscaping is probably going to be a second phase. We'll mostly do just grass wherever we disturb the land, and then figure out landscaping later. But in general, the project is taking off the addition that was done in the mid-90s and replacing that with a newer addition that's a little bit bigger and it's mostly oriented the same way. It'll extend out to the south a little bit further with a 10-foot connection, a single-story connection, and then the current addition is 1.5 stories, but it's a vaulted ceiling, whereas now we're going to do a second floor within the roof structure.
Okay.
On the front of the house, there's also going to be a new dormer window to get more light into what's going to be a guest bedroom.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. I mean, we looked at your plans. So I guess we'll just, we didn't know we'd open the public hearing, so we don't even need to.
You could make a motion to see him at a special meeting and set the date for that, yes.
Okay, so the 15th at 6:30, is that okay with everybody?
Does that work for you, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to schedule public hearing for discussion at a special meeting on May 15th at 6:30 p.m.
Second.
How do you vote? Oh, you're sorry. That's for you to call.
Member Cook?
Aye.
Member Hoppen?
Aye.
Member Loda?
Aye.
Member Shannon?
Aye.
Chair Leistra?
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry we couldn't move forward tonight, but we'll get
Yeah.
it taken care of next time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next one is 5 Sutherland. Do we have anyone here from 5? Okay, hello there.
Hello. Thank you. Hello, members of the board.
Hello.
Thanks for seeing us again.
Thank you.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so.
Yeah, just a brief summary where we left off last time.
No, you're fine, don't worry.
So where we were last time is we asked you to go talk to the Historic Preservation Board.
Yep.
And we understand you listened to some comments that they had. You made some changes to your drawings, so we'd like to ask you to go over that with us. Their last meeting, there was some discussion of lights, and we wanted to get the location of light fixtures from you. We talked about what lights are generally compliant with code, and we also talked about drainage and coming up with a drainage plan for the garage since it's close to the property line. We talked about the trees that are near the property line that'll be close to the construction area. And I forwarded a document to the building inspector to forward on to you. I don't know if you made that, but that was a report from a landscape architect on that subject matter for another property.
I didn't get it, but.
You didn't get that?
Take a look at it, yeah.
Okay.
I'll ask you to send it over. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had that happen for another property, and we got a landscape architect. They're building an addition, or actually a house close to a property line. The neighbor expressed they wanted to keep their trees, so we got advice. So we might as well recycle it. The advice, you can take a look at what they had to say.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and then, however you want to address that is up to you. And then there's another outstanding question about the front setback, whether that was compliant with everything. I think we had some discussion about it needing to be the average of the houses next door, I believe. And I think Steve said he was going to look into that. I don't know where that is, if the building inspector has looked at that or not.
He'll be back.
Yeah, I think he's
I
coming
think
back.
He's probably wrong.
yeah. I know that we're no further than our neighbors, we're in line or a couple inches within our neighbors. So I think we are within that, but we'll let him confirm that.
Okay.
Okay, so The revised site plan, did you guys get a copy of the revised?
We
concept?
have revised plans.
I have a bigger one if you wanted to kind of take a look. It didn't come out too well, though, it's kind of faint. But to address the drainage issue, I'm just gonna get my bearings here. So, the engineers went out and drilled a test pit to make sure that the soil could absorb the water.
Yeah.
And they could, so they went and did that, and then they put in a dry well here, which would collect the water off of the garage and then go into this drain well.
Okay,
It's a pretty common thing, they said, but they did test it and they said it should work fine, so they added that to the site plan.
okay, good. Yeah, no, dry wells are a common way to solve that. so.
Okay. Yeah, so, and it was tested, everything's good, so that was added. To answer your question on the lighting, we did meet with the architectural review board, I'm sorry, the historic preservation board.
Mhm.
They gave us some advice, we gave them pictures of the lights that we were planning on using, and they said they were sufficient, so we were gonna design it into the plans with the architect. We met with the architect last night, went over some of the plans, and we're gonna incorporate that into the design.
Okay,
Okay, so lighting in the drainage, and trees, thank you. And then, so some of the feedback that came back from the Historical Preservation Board was they wanted to see the slope of the roof. So I didn't send this is just kind of a graphical thing, but generally what they wanted to do was to kind of see the slope of the garage
Yeah.
match the roof.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't send this to you because I just did this last night, but just as a comparison,
Oh,
we have our slope of our roof is a 612. So the plans that were in the packet, did I put this? Yeah, I did put it in the.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So this is just a side-by-side that I did, just to kind of look at our current house. But generally, that's why we drew that on there. That's kind of a 612 roof pitch. Met with the architect last night. He said it shouldn't be a problem to incorporate that into the design. So that was their feedback, to try and make it kind of match the front of the house.
okay.
So.
So are you coming up with you're gonna come up with some new plans? Is that what you're thinking of doing? And then showing that?
Well, these are the plans, but we're gonna go to the HPZ and with the revised plans. This is kind of like a rough sketch, which they said to bring in, they kind of said to bring it to you guys to let you know what we're doing, and then we're gonna give them the real plans.
Okay,
Once the architect can get them together.
okay, so your architect is working on some plans based on all the feedback you have.
Yep.
You're gonna get that out fairly soon.
As soon as we
Well,
can do
I
it.
thought the understanding was that we got, they go ahead to do it before we paid the architect to draw up plans.
Yeah, so for this, just to
Right,
make sure that
right.
the site plan and everything's okay, and then we'll have him design the plans based upon feedback here.
Okay.
I think, that was my understanding, but.
Well, so I'll just tell you how it normally works. We can take plans from applicants. Every single site plan application I think we've seen, we've had drawings from architects usually had come in. For little tiny projects, not so much, but usually what people do is they come up with their plans, their ideas, they come in sometimes for information only to get some initial feedback. They incorporate that into their plans, and they come up with a set of drawings, and they submit it to all the boards, and they get all the approvals. That's how it usually goes. And I don't think we require drawings from an architect. So you can make your own, but it comes out better usually if you let the pros help you through the process. They can estimate prices.
Yeah.
So one of the things we don't want to do is we don't want to necessarily approve things that you find you really don't want to build for whatever reasons there are, so.
I guess really we wanted to know the permeables paving side of it, as far as how big we can go with the garage, and then
Right.
we know how to tell him, what size the garage is supposed to be, how much the porch is supposed to come out, the variance on the side of the building, those things, so that.
Okay, so the preservation board, did they have any comments for you on the size of the building?
They seemed okay with the site plan that we had.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, anyone have any comments or? thoughts about that?
It seems like the issues that we asked to be addressed last time have been addressed.
Yeah, I guess the only comment I was going to have is I preferred the lower building that you had originally and making it even taller. I wasn't expecting it to go that direction.
Oh, okay.
So I guess I'm just going to say I'm more comfortable like a 1.5-story building rather than one that's like a full 2 stories. Just so that it's obviously smaller than the original house and it doesn't look like you actually have 2 houses on here. So
Sorry, I just want to make sure I
I'm just saying my
understand. Is the current height going to be the same as the house?
It'll be lower than the house.
It's still lower than the house, okay.
yeah. So you said, what was it, about 31 feet you said on that drawing there? The house?
Of our current house?
Yeah.
We don't have a very precise measurement, but the estimates from, doing it ourselves is about another 28 feet roughly.
So 28 feet?
Roughly, I mean, yeah.
Okay, and this is 25 feet.
25, and.
We just want to be able to
and
stand
it-
up upstairs.
Yeah, we want to
Understood.
be able to have a little bit height upstairs, but,
Stand anyway.
yeah, so we were just trying to go get the variance that says it has to be lower than the main house, and if we can bring it down, we will. But we wanted to ask for the 25.6 so that we can design it with, especially with this, the increased slope, not the increased, decreased slope.
Right,
We wanted
right.
for the roof, yeah.
Because otherwise, because it really isn't much taller than the original. The sides are, but the peak.
The peak isn't.
The peak.
Peak is not,
It's not.
Yeah.
just changing the pitch.
It's just conforming to the rest of the house. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Makes it look the same.
Right.
Do you know what the wall height is going to be?
Well, it was gonna be 10 feet, and then a foot for the joists, and then 8 feet upstairs, and then whatever the peaks would be, so 10, 8, 19 plus the roof peaks.
Yeah.
So it's a 26 feet or 5 feet here to get to 25.6.
Okay. Any other thoughts? So at least as far as the variances go, I'm just going to share my thought is that, boy, it seems awfully tall and large. So we have to consider impacts on community character. And that's just my only concern is, I mean, I think something that was 1.5 story, I'm okay with. If the HPV is okay with the width and length of this, I don't think I'm going to make an issue out of that. Does anyone else have any thoughts?
I just had one more thing
Please.
to mention was, if we look in our backyard, we look right at, and I think I mentioned this last time, a big building in our backyard, that's.
Parking lot and apartment building,
And
yes.
so we want to block that,
Yeah.
Yes, we
basically.
can, yeah.
And it's going to be a commercial.
Yeah,
So the White House next to the corner house, when they look out the back, where does that line of sight go? Does it go?
Backyard, right. Their fence goes along our fence, so their side fence goes along our
I
back
can,
fence.
yeah, I can show you.
Along your back fence? So their view shed would be unimpeded, like up the,
From the back of their house,
It's a, so.
half of the garage will be in view of their backyard. The
Yeah,
other
I don't
half
really
is
have-
there.
I mean, I guess I could show you the other map, but this is their property line here. It's about, this is the garage. It'd be kind of like half the garage. This is the property line. I think the house you're referring to, the white one.
right, and so they're going to look
So-
into,
Well, partial, their lot, I think, goes like this. It's not the
Right.
whole lot right
They're
here.
happy to come.
So it would be kind of the left
They
corner.
what?
They're happy with that, they have no problem.
Okay.
yeah, we haven't heard from them.
Because they want to put in a garage too, so.
Yeah, they're,
Yeah.
so, yeah, you're right. They may, well, they don't have one either, so.
and so what about the house on the other side?
The house on the other side is, they do have a garage back
He
here.
said he'd write a letter.
And he would be happy to write a letter, he's for it as well. So we did talk to the neighbors just to make sure that everyone was okay.
Right.
But
But that, yeah, I would, if they have some comments, I would love to hear from them. If they're okay with that, that way, I'd like to know that. So, I mean, we're here to resolve conflicts with neighbors. If they're okay, there's nothing to resolve.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So I'm good.
You're good?
yeah.
Everyone else? So it sounds like the next step is to get this properly noticed, and we can handle it on the 15th.
For the site plan, yeah.
For the site plan, yeah. The variances we can handle now, or we could just do them all together.
Normally we just handle them all at once. Any thoughts? Are you revising your plans at all by the 15th? Or, I mean, I wouldn't mind having you go, when's the next HPV meeting?
The 16th, it's been rescheduled, so, but based on how this was gonna go, I would have connected with them so they could be ready to go in front of the HPV, yeah. We just had to wait and see what you guys did.
So, I guess I wouldn't mind having them see the revised drawings, since I asked for them to change it. What do you want to do?
I wouldn't mind, but I don't think we should delay for that. But I'm happy to hear what other folks think.
Yeah,
So do we have the measurements that we need, even though
We have the measurements at what they want, and so we can, we typically let the HPB resolve the architectural details.
right?
Yeah.
so the HPV hasn't seen the revised drawing of the revised pitch for its request? Or-
No, they
Oh,
haven't, because we were gonna
clarify.
try to have the architect do real plans for that. That was kind of a sketch after we came out of the meeting. Yeah,
Right.
we were trying to get the height variance and then impervious surface variance.
And then work out the architectural details with the HPV.
Yes.
Yeah, and as far as the impervious surface variance, you've addressed the drainage is one of the big ones that we talked about.
Yeah.
So if, that's one of the main things we want to make sure is that, you have a parking lot there, you don't want water running down there freezing, we talked about that.
Yeah.
So if you've come up with a plan for the drainage, that would be the main thing I was concerned about with that. So does anyone else have any impervious surface concerns?
No?
I mean, they seem pretty happy with it.
Okay. Okay.
It's gonna look a lot, it's gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the front porch, yeah, big,
It's not looking house, we
Looks
know
great.
it is.
yeah.
Yeah, they like the front porch idea that you had?
Yeah,
Okay,
they
good.
did, they really did.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not surprised.
Okay, so carry this over the 15th is what I'm thinking? Everyone in agreement with that?
To do everything at once.
Do everything all at
I
once?
think that makes, that's probably the most efficient, right? There's no reason to,
Nothing can, right,
right,
We can't resolve everything tonight.
right,
Yeah, because we have to wait on the site plan.
right.
And although we could vote on the variances now, I mean, you're not going to be able to start construction or anything without.
yeah, but that would help us like to go forward with the architect, I guess.
Yeah, so I guess it won't delay you if we
Right.
do it on the 15th.
Yeah, and then in the meantime, if you can, you said you had some light fixtures, if you want to add that to your application, what your light fixtures you were thinking
Yeah,
of,
that'd be
and at least draw
I
circles.
thought I sent them to you, but I just looked at the email, and I don't think I did, did
For
I?
HPV, you did, but they
Oh, okay,
were,
HPV.
yeah, they weren't, they were the stock, so I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if that's what you were.
Well, we showed them some examples, and then
Yeah.
when we did the plans, we were gonna put the exact, model numbers and everything on the plans when we did that with the architect.
Yeah, I mean, if you were going to do what we were talking about, which is fixtures with one bulb, 75 watts or less, and particularly if they have a full shroud around them, that's fine. So, it's just so
We're not
that,
concerned with the shape of the light.
yeah, the point is just to show where they're supposed to be, so that if someone comes back and whatever date in the future, and they say, what was approved and what is there, that there's the records of it. So just for you, so that's really one of the main things.
Yeah.
So that is under your purview, not the HPC though? Is
The
that-
appearance of the fixtures,
Appearance,
the
because-
light that goes on the ground is what's kind of in our purview.
Zoning, okay.
So that's more for the site plans. So so as long as we know where they are, if it's nothing, normally for residential stuff, it's not that much of a concern for what you're proposing. Now, if you want to do something brighter than that, you can apply for it. Like if you wanted, a post light in a backyard or front yard or something like that, that can be part of your application. But normally people just want just dim lights so they can get out of their cars, and they're not looking to, light up a soccer field. Yeah.
So we, just to clarify, we can go ahead with the architect to draw up the plans based on the size that we've given you.
That's up to you.
Yeah, they haven't voted yet.
We
We haven't
can't,
voted.
yeah, we won't be able to vote on it until the 15th, so we can't say for sure, it's not official until you have a vote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I can say that you guys seem to have addressed our concerns.
Yeah, and there's still the outstanding thing about the tree, protecting the trees. And Steve, I think I'd sent you a letter about that once upon like a month ago, and they said they hadn't seen it. So if you can share that with them.
There's not really any trees, there's one behind.
The ones behind you.
Yeah, there's a couple on the side. Yeah, right. So.
Anyway, take a look at that.
Pardon? Do you have that, you can send it over? Okay, yeah, thank you.
If you take a look at that, I think it'll be fairly obvious something you can do. And if you can just write up maybe a couple paragraphs or something, what you intend to do about it, that'd be great.
Okay, and is it sufficient though to, before we come back on 15th, just to provide detail on the lights and then just draw where the locations on the garage, where we're.
Sure.
On the sides of the garage?
Your description of the lights is fine. If you want to, supplying the fixtures is good. But yeah, just draw a circle where they're going to be and say that's lighting plan.
Okay, perfect.
Lights are where they're shown.
Locations and, wattage, I guess.
Okay.
And we're getting rid of.
And approximate height.
I think we're keeping that now.
Oh, we are.
Yeah, so that is a good question, though. I'm glad you brought that up. So we're thinking just about keeping, in the original submission that we did, the one that goes in the side of the house and the driveway side, we were just thinking about keeping that and not changing that. So should I change that picture too for the 15th then and just say keeping as is?
For completeness.
Yeah, just so.
Oh,
you
it
have the
wouldn't
record.
hurt.
Okay.
We'll just
Okay.
jazz it up a little.
Okay, all right. All right, well, thank you for the feedback and appreciate it. And we'll be back on the 15th with these changes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, thank you very much.
Do you guys want to make a motion to add this?
Yes, I guess we got to do that. Okay, so I'll make a motion to carry over keep the public hearing open for the area variances and carry them over to our meeting on May 15th at 6:30 PM. Okay. We'll make a separate one for the site plan.
I don't think we need to do that because technically it's like it was a new application. It never
Okay.
got posted, yeah. So just,
Well, okay.
yeah.
Fair enough.
Do you think we should make a motion for the site plan?
We did, you guys didn't do it for the 25 Terrace one.
No.
No, so it's like they turned in the application, but the public, it was never set at all. Like there's no notice for it. For 25 Eastview, it was noticed, but we had to set a special meeting for it. So the site plan is like a new application.
Right, yeah, then,
Yeah, so no motion for that one.
Okay.
That's fine.
Member Cook?
Aye.
Member Hoppin?
Aye.
Member Loda?
Aye.
Member Shannon?
Aye.
Chair Bleastra?
Hi.
Motion passes.
Okay, so now we're up to 5 State Street.
everyone?
Hello again.
So I heard you went before the trustees last night,
I did.
and I was wondering if you
We're
could,
successful, so had a special permit granted, subject to getting our site plan approved.
or getting the dumpster
The dumpster.
authorized.
Yeah, or having, yes, so
Right.
the site plan approval is part of our refuse plan. The refuse plan being either we get a written affirmation that we do have an easement, or we have a site plan approval for an on-site option, which is Plan B in front of you.
Yes, okay.
Yep.
And any other things that have changed since?
So we took the feedback and provided an updated design, which I have here.
Okay.
Steve just informed me that there might be some continued discussion about that, but I think when we looked at the feedback that we got and the revised, looked at the feedback and looked at the revised plan, it's still very suitable if we have to build it, that we could have a number of toters and meet our refuse plan, get it in and out, and still have the egress out that side door. So,
Okay.
and I have that here if we want to look through it. But
So that's the revised ones for discussion with Steve? Or revised ones from last week?
So I sent a version on Friday based on last week's feedback, which is what I have here. And then, I don't know if there was more discussion, Steve alluded to something to me earlier about at the workshop. That
Yeah,
questions.
maybe we'll,
Should I open this
open up your current plan.
Let's take a look.
So this is the site plan we submitted. I will say there's only one adjustment. We're actually going to add some language as a footnote relating to the easements for clarification, but we're submitting sort of a final to Steve with that. But in any event, so the main change of this from what we presented last week was we have moved it back so it is flush with the existing sidewalk, so there's not an impediment more to our neighbors' parking,
Right.
more so than what they already have elsewhere. So kind of following that. And it still provides enough room for egress out of that, according to Steve, for fire code.
Yeah, so the discussion we had last time is you're about 2 feet into this walkway with the
Yep.
plans before us last week.
Correct.
And after you talked about it with Steve, he asked you to move it back to where it's proposed here, the inside edge of the walkway.
Correct.
And the discussion we had with Steve earlier today is he saw an earlier site plan, and there's discussion of possibly moving it 1 more feet as what he had discussed with us earlier. Steve, do you want to talk about that, the site plan over here?
Yes, well, back in 2011, there was a site plan approved for the bakery, which created a parking space in front of his spot, the child. So the thought would be to give 38'5" as a backing space versus the 37'5" if he left it 5 foot off of the walkway. So basically gaining 1 more foot behind the walkway. So from his property line, it would be back 6 feet off the property line. Would allow a 3.5 foot walkway, more than enough to egress for the door to completely open 90 and give space to get out. Then leave him a 6.5 foot deep enclosure, which should be more than enough for a 3x3 totes to maneuver them around and function. That gives the same setback as a predetermined or already pre-approved site plan for the property, so you're not creating any more of a non-conformity than already exists.
Yeah.
Do you want to come up and just show it me on the map? I just want to make sure I'm like fully clear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's make sure.
I'm very familiar with a 16 by 20 space by now. Having disputed 320 square feet in my life. So.
Right, but right now, the way this is out 11 feet. All right?
From building to here.
Building to here would be 11 feet.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so cut it back to 10 feet. So you're gonna cut this back, just this wall is gonna move back to roughly here.
1 foot away from the sidewalk.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. And by doing so, we'll make this part of the enclosure 6 inches smaller and also move the whole thing.
Yes,
closer
6
to the
inches
building.
closer.
So we'll have 6 inches narrower walkway, 6 inches narrower enclosure, leaving another foot.
Right, and what it
Gap
does
between
is
the
then it complies with this previously approved. See how they got it a foot off? I scaled this, and it's literally a foot off the sidewalk. So you're not gonna create any more of a non-conformity than was already approved in a previous site plan.
Okay. Yeah.
And you now are actually inside the ballards. The ballards are sitting out here.
Yeah, they're
So now you're a foot inside where the bollards used to be.
And I've noticed that fence gets bumped like about a foot.
So for liability purposes, we've put up our own fencing around the parking lot because we just don't want people using if it's an empty space. So those bollards have been gone for a while.
I'm talking about
out
the
of
temporary.
damage.
Talk about
The temporary ones will not be there. They are temporary. That's just
Okay.
for clarity. Yeah.
But anyway, that was my observation, is when I was over there, I saw cars backing up and turning around. I never really saw them go more than about a foot. So a foot seemed to be kind of like about the natural space where they.
Yeah, and the only space, and actually this is wrong, this is actually, if you're looking at that light, it's sitting like right here. You know, I mean, it's out farther, but it's in this space, it's a middle space to this thing that's the only one it really affects.
Okay.
You know, I mean, because the rest of these, you're able to park all the way up here.
Yep.
So backing up is a lot easier, it's just that one thing with a light pole right there that creates an issue.
Yep.
So my other thought was if they just marked it as compact car only.
Yeah.
For that space.
That's an issue for them.
So this is the infamous light post here that's 3 feet in. So that light post is going to be a pretty short.
Yeah, it's right here. That one right there is right there.
So that one is.
Yeah, but even so, the nice thing about it, because it is sitting off center, when you're actually backing from here, you're gonna cut yourself, you know, I mean, if it was here, it'd be way worse. Because of the fact that you have to back the full length into where that is, but because it's here, when you're backing, where the enclosure is, you're gonna be able to back here, you know, without, you know, gives you more room.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't entirely sure what the impact of this was going to be, because, I mean, with these cars, these two spots, if there's cars in them, they're going to be normal depth. So normally people back up until they're sort of clear of the cars next to them, and then they start turning. So I had no idea what the impact of that's going to be, if it still works out.
Well, like I said, it depends on how you drive, because like I said, I pulled into this spot right here.
Yep.
Yesterday with my truck. There was a car here, a car here. I was able to back out here with my truck, which is, you know, it's not a full-size truck, but a good-sized truck. I was able to back out here and literally like about here.
Yeah.
Not even hit the sidewalk.
Barely. I barely, you know, the corner of the bumper probably went over the sidewalk. By the time I straightened up, I was literally this side of the walkway. That's, you know, but I have seen people that, like you said, they will back all the way out.
Just keep going.
And then start to turn.
And that's because there's nothing there.
Right.
Yeah, which you don't need to. You don't need, you know.
Park there first. I mean, we're still not more narrow than.
You can't drive, you should.
Correct. Now, I do want to update, you said cars, you were asked last meeting about, well, what if cars parked here? And I thought, oh, they're narrower. I got to apologize. People park at some really bad spots. So I'm going to revise my answer and just say, that's a terrible spot to park. But I did go over there this weekend, and there is a car parked exactly where this dumpster is going to be. A car is almost the same length as the dumpster, and their door was right on the proposed edge of the property line. And my observation is, yeah, cars it's difficult to navigate it, but most of the time, they sort that out. I have no idea how often cars get T-bones there, but I'm sure it's happened before.
But now that won't be happening, because there'll be a
Different
structure
visual-
there instead of a car.
Right,
Yeah.
Potentially.
right.
Yeah, assuming. Yeah.
The other thing
Hypothetically.
that I found helpful to see, I just want to talk about it when I was there. Again, there is a car parked here. It's essentially the same spot as the dumpster. I watched cars drive in. The parking lot was completely full. They were able to do a K-turn at the end, turn around and come back, and that was even with the car there. Mm-hmm. So it looked like, I don't see any reason why the dumpster is going to impair people from turning around.
Right.
So that's what I observed.
Glad you got to see that.
I hadn't even thought of that originally, but if you go over there and it's like, no, that's.
Well, is that where the seating goes, the outdoor seating is in the summer?
Yeah, there's outdoor seating here,
Out there.
but I think this is still like a 30-foot, I mean, you look at this is like almost 3 parking spots wide before you get there.
Right.
So there's some room, so I saw cars park in here, do their K-turn, turn around. Yeah, that's what I observed. So I hadn't thought about that at the last meeting, so it was good I could observe it functioning. And again, like I said, there was a car there, so it looked like that would function fine if you had the dumpster there.
Mhm.
So the other comment is, last time we had talked about a referral to the engineer, Scott Harder, and that, to get any comments he might have on parking lot width, and some other things that were discussed as possibly, is there anything that might help
Is that necessary if
Well, that's the
with
discussion.
Steve's
Yeah.
input?
That's a discussion for us to have.
I don't think we need it.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
We are seeing, pre-approved space.
Yeah,
right.
So it's conformed with non-conformity. But, that's the village. So I don't think that there is a new issue. In fact, I think your concerns about, kind of possible unhappiness on anybody's part.
Well, I mean, the foot actually makes a notable difference to me, because I think there's kind of really pretty narrow margins there between something being a frequent problem and something being a much less frequent problem. And I'm thinking it really helps, just from, I was observing how people behave, I think that looks like that might help a lot. And we see that little temporary chain fence over there, it gets bumped about a foot, and that's it. Isn't that about right?
Yeah.
That makes a difference to me.
No, I'm good.
Me too.
I guess the only thing I was wondering, and maybe it's not that thing, is, I'll just air this out, we can discuss what to do about it, is whether the brick columns, I didn't know if there was something that might be a little less harsh on cars that gently tap it. So, for example, wood columns, if I, back up at 1 mile an hour into, a car's bumper when parallel parking, that doesn't usually damage my car. If I was backing up at 1 mile an hour into brick, I suspect that would not be great for my car.
Can I comment on that?
Please go ahead.
Yeah. So historical preservation strongly wanted it to kind of meld with the brick architecture of the building, because we had asked if pole and wood structure, and it just didn't, because it's visual from the street, they really pushed material wise for something that blended in with the building.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Or blended in with the neighborhood at least. We can't
Right.
just paint black and paint it, but
Right.
we can do black, like
Something
something
that looks
across
like
the
it.
street and next door.
Right.
That's Phoenix building, so.
Okay. Another thing I was kind of wondering is if something small, like putting a little bumper or something on there might make sense, just to, but, some little things like that can be sorted out after the fact too, if it turns out to be a frequent problem or an infrequent problem. I don't know.
I think that's an owner decision if we, want to. So, we definitely would consider it if it became a big problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either way, I don't think it prevents us from doing our job here.
All right, so I'm kind of thinking that it sounds like people, based on this fairly small change, it sounds like, that actually satisfies quite a few of my concerns. But it probably would be best if we're going to get rid of the referral to just formally make a motion to retract the prior one.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
All right, I'll make a motion then to withdraw the prior referral we had to the village engineer, Scott Harder, based on additional testimony and changes. I guess I'll just leave it at that.
And I'll second it.
Member Halpin?
Aye.
Member Cook?
Aye.
Member Loda?
Aye.
Member Shannon?
Aye.
Chair Felicia?
Hi,
Motion passes.
okay. Okay, so the next thing then is, I think we need, what are we doing with this next? Are we going to wait for updated drawings, or are we going to do a conditional vote on this if we vote to approve it, that they move it by another foot?
One clarification, what about the public hearing? Is it still open technically, or did it get closed?
Public hearing is still open.
Still open, yeah.
I guess we should see if anyone wants to comment.
Yeah, we should.
Is there anyone online?
No comments online.
Okay, are there any people attending online?
No.
Okay. Anyone in the room wish to comment?
Oh. All right.
I think, can we,
I'm comfortable.
yeah, vote on it pending, receipt of plans that conform to the previously approved site plan?
Yeah, well, I think we can just say that they moved the fence 1 foot closer to the building.
Yeah, yeah, I think we can.
Condition it.
And in all honesty, if that's where it is, that's my only concern about this. Where the exact walkway width, the exact interior width, you guys can sort that out.
Yeah.
It's just another foot from the sidewalk.
Correct.
And then as long as Steve is okay with how much that door needs,
Right.
we can make the difference.
Yeah.
Okay. And we also need area to pull it out.
Right.
Steve?
I would just make a motion that the enclosure, the maximum distance from the building for the outside of the enclosure is 10 feet.
Isn't it 11 and a half right now?
Yeah, well, right now he brought it back, it's 16-foot space, he brought it back 5, now he's gonna bring it back 1 more. So 10-foot maximum from the building for the outside extent of the enclosure.
Okay. So, too much stuff here.
I think that, I don't want to get this one's.
I don't know what I have in my pen.
All right, so.
Okay. All right, so I guess, do we have copies of our resolutions in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's actually only been one for this application.
Yep, this is just the site plan. So let's kind of review.
They would have been separate, Teresa. They're separate from your packet.
Here, Justin, I have an extra one.
Can I see a copy of it?
You can follow along with them, okay?
There we go.
Okay, I found mine. Thank you. Okay, so here we have the 5-speed one. Okay, so we're going to take a look through here is our various review criteria. And so we have about 12 different review criteria. So let's just go through these one by one, and a lot of these things might just be not applicable. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So first one, Steve, this does not create any zoning violations, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so does not create any zoning violations. This is not in the local waterfront district, so first finding on LWRP is not applicable. Let's get back to vehicle circulation, and that's the only one I think that really merits much discussion. We'll talk about that next. That's number 3. So number 4, bicyclist access and circulation. I don't think anything is changing.
Right.
So no changes are proposed. Compatibility with the adjacent uses. This is a restaurant, the adjacent use is a restaurant.
Mhm.
So uses are compatible, both restaurants. Adequacy of off-street parking, loading, and access. I'm gonna suggest that we don't talk anything about their parking lot, so whatever.
And then,
Yeah, I agree.
I think we should make this is just a dumpster. We are not addressing,
right,
this does not reflect their parking lot.
I agree.
So application is only for a trash enclosure and not for parking, loading, or access. And then we could also say the building inspector, fire marshal believes access will be adequate to the side door.
Yeah.
Okay, landscaping, again, there's no changes to landscaping. This is just a trash changer, so we can call that NA. Signage, no changes to signage. We're not approving anything, not commenting on that. Outdoor lighting is the same thing. We're not reviewing your lighting plans. We're not approving anything. We're just approving the trash enclosure. Adequacy of drainage and stormwater systems. It was impervious before, it's impervious now. And if nothing is being changed, we're not reviewing it. Water and sanitary sewer systems, I think we can call that not applicable. It's not changing. Adequacy of waste and trash management plans. Well, this will actually, this is the purpose of it. So that's actually a big one, is this will allow you to actually dispose of waste on your own property. So,
Accommodated.
yeah. Okay, so for number 3, the adequacy and arrangement of vehicular traffic and circulation. So some of my thoughts on that is it may impact the property next door, but I think that the only thing I can say is it's addressed it to the maximum extent practicable. I mean, it's just, you've moved the fence, if you move the fence another foot, you can't move it any further and still have a functioning facility. So I really think that that's, all we can say is there are potential concerns, but it's been addressed as best you can.
And I think,
I was going to refer back to the previously approved site plan from 21.
yeah,
And the location of the fence is consistent with a parking location approved in, what was it, 2011?
Yes.
yeah. For the neighboring property.
Yeah, not our property.
Yeah.
Anything about, so I guess the only other thing I would say is that there's a light post that the neighboring property owner may need to move, but obviously that's up to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So.
I don't think,
That's not before
I would
us.
not touch that.
I agree.
Don't touch that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Alrighty then, any other things? Oh, snow removal plans. Not applicable. Do you give any thought to how you're gonna, snow gonna cause a problem with these areas?
Snow actually melts pretty quickly right there, it's proximity to the building, and so, and
I mean, presumably the same way I.
everyone here deals with snow. Just deal with it. And I mean, the dumpster area has the same issue, it's not covered from the top, so.
Yeah,
It's not.
I mean, my trash can, I open it and the snow falls off. That's how I usually deal with it.
Exactly.
Me too.
Okay, so we're not concerned about snow removal plans, it's not a significant change. Health, safety, and general welfare of adjacent property owners and the community. Steve, do you want to make a comment on your observations for?
I don't think there's any detrimental effect on the property or the community.
Okay. And we can still say the fence is in the same location as the parking spot that was previously approved. It's in a similar area, it's no worse than that.
Previously established distance.
The parking spot, this is someone else's site plan. and
Correct.
The parking spot that's not on this area.
Yeah.
How is that comment being defined about the previous parking spot since it's a different property?
I'm trying to understand that myself, but the comment is a previous site plan for the other property showed a parking spot in the same location as proposed fence.
Okay.
So.
No.
Not same
Not same
location.
location.
Same distance.
Same separation distance as the previously approved, plan for the other property.
Okay, at the same 10-foot distance from
From the building.
the building.
Right.
So, so the impacts of this are comparable to that existing improved.
Yeah, I'd say no significant impact beyond what was already approved.
Or just say previously approved distance.
Yeah.
Fire Marshal, do you have any other comments?
Well, I think this is the minimum or, that can be, I don't know the right word, but it's the minimum that can be accomplished to give him what he needs and meet the needs of the public.
Yeah, so I think the adage is everything has been addressed to the maximum extent practicable is what I've been saying, and I think we all agree with that. So it's the best compromise we can reach for both properties. Okay, next things we have in here is, do we have an official date on these plans?
Well, I mean, we're going to be submitting a new plan, right?
Yeah.
So those ones should be April 27th.
This is March 5th on this one,
March 4th, right here.
March 4th on this one. Yeah.
Yeah, we know they're.
Well, no, that's a floor plan. We did
Yeah.
the site plan. Yeah, no, but the site plan is what we should be looking at, right? You guys approved a site plan. So that one is,
March 5th looks like.
okay.
You do have a revised date on there, Mike.
Oh, there's a revised
Yeah.
date as well.
Where's that?
Where's that, yeah?
It should be closer.
Oh, right
to the
here?
top, Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 425.
425, yep.
Yep, okay.
But that's,
Is that the same one you sent?
that's the one I sent on Friday.
Okay.
So this is, I don't know how you want to phrase it, but we're going to amend that, a further revision to that, subject to the feedback we got. The feedback we got.
So I think we can say that we approve it with condition that the outer wall be no more than 10 feet from the building.
Site plan is amended by 124 by the planning board.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about some conditions. So we're talking about that. Well, all of these plans are essentially the same, except the location of the fence. So if we say the fence shall be located no more than 10 feet from the building.
Do you think we need to do 10 or
11. 10.
So it's currently 11.
It's in that plan 11.
Yeah.
Right.
We're bringing it back for more, but yep. okay.
Steve's asking for it to be brought back.
So we'll do that. So a new draw, so we'll just say a condition is a new drawing shall be submitted showing it in this new location. So new drawing, and that'll be for getting a building permit. And then the other thing I think we should say as a condition of approval is the only thing being approved is the trash tote area. We are not authorizing any changes to parking, lighting, drainage, anything like that.
No, just what,
Well, they didn't ask for anything else, so.
right.
Yeah, well, we just need to state what we're approving.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
So we're approving only the trash tote area. So I don't know what approvals there were before, but essentially everything else is unchanged anyway.
Yeah.
That's how we handled that church that wanted to change a wall.
Right.
Is we said, yeah, we can look at just this one area and not look at everything. And
The remainder of the site plan remains unchanged.
the remaining site is unchanged.
I like that.
Yeah.
We can work on the language of this
Yeah.
when we write it up. And then we have the conditions here that it expires if it, within a year, if you don't get a building permit. That's a standard one we have in here. And if you don't get something in a year, well, I can't foresee this, your trash going unresolved for a year, but you can come back and ask us to extend that date. The other.
Is the 1 year just standard protocol or?
That's standard protocol, and that's in our code, that it expires in a year if,
Without approval?
without
Building permit.
building permit.
No, but unless, or building permit, or we get approval, we get an extension.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And the extension is mostly to make sure no circumstances have changed in the time.
Yeah.
And then the other condition we normally have is the Historic Preservation Board shall approve the plans as well. So that's the other, and that's
Is there
all.
a timeframe when that has to happen, or?
Well, if not, if you don't have all this happening within a year, then,
Needed for the building.
Yeah, it's for all the conditions.
and that's also in our code as well. So basically, our code is set up that if the HPB denies it, your other permits effectively get denied. But you've talked to them and they're okay with this, so that's an uncommon situation. Okay, are we all good with this?
Yes.
All right, so I'll make a motion then to approve
Do you
the,
want to close the public hearing?
yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Before, thanks.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Member Loda?
Aye.
Member Shannon? Aye. Member Hoppen?
Aye.
Member Cook?
Aye.
Chair Bellistra?
All right.
Motion passes.
Okay. So I'll make a motion then to approve the resolution for the site plan with the findings that we have discussed and with the conditions that we have discussed.
Second?
Member Cook?
Aye.
Member Hoppen? Aye. Member Loda?
Aye.
Member Shannon?
Aye.
Chair Bellistra?
All right.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
You got it.
Okay. And you're still chasing after the dumpster too, right, I hear, right? And that's your preferred option?
Saga continues.
If, so whichever one of these can actually be resolved.
Yes, so
Yeah.
the good thing is that we can now move
Right.
forward along with.
Right.
Thank you for your patience and your feedback. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Right.
All right, next thing we had was minutes. Okay, do you want to start with minutes or resolutions?
Well, in my packet, the minutes.
Yeah, me too. Happy to go in the order of the packet.
Right.
Okay,
The agenda. That's how
Yeah,
they were moving.
the agenda, yeah.
do people need a little bit of time to browse through these? I know I've gone through these and Katie's gone through these. I'm pretty good with these.
There's a recurring typo, and like the note, a copy of these resolutions is located. I think there should be a copy of this resolution.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they get stuck in there when they get posted on the minutes on the website.
I said this, not these, like.
Oh, this,
Okay.
And
okay.
then resolutions, plural, not resolutions.
Yeah.
I'll check that throughout.
I'm good with these.
Me too.
Okay. Joanne, do you need more time?
No.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion then to approve the minutes from April 3rd as amended.
Second. Okay, member Hoffman, second. Member Cook,
Aye.
member Hoffman, member Loda,
Aye.
member Shannon, Chair Leistra,
Aye.
motion passes.
Okay, the next thing we had are the resolutions on the area variances. So going over the language and the findings. So our first, the first resolution here, number 3, and we had the section there, A, talks about the adjacent property being closest to the addition. Has anyone looked at that, have any thoughts on that?
It's good.
Okay, if we're good with A, anyone, I think B and C are pretty cut and dry. Anything on D, anyone?
I think that's good.
Okay. There's F on the minimum, so there's minimum compliance. And then there's G as well. I don't know if anyone has any comments on F or G.
No, pretty straightforward. And good.
Good. Okay, so that's basically going to be approved as submitted then, if we had no changes at all.
Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
so I'll make a motion to approve the language of Resolution 2024-3 for 34 Church Street as presented.
Second?
Member Shannon?
Aye.
Member Loda?
Aye.
Member Halpin?
Aye.
Member Cook?
Aye.
Chair Bleastra?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, and then the next one was Copperleaf, which is 2024-4. And if anyone wants to browse through this, they can. This was essentially the same as what we did last year with there's a few minor wording changes, and then there's just updating the dates for the most part. So there's minimal changes, a couple grammar changes, other than that. If you want time to look through it, go ahead. Good, you're good?
I'm good.
All right, I'll make a motion then to approve the language of Resolution 2024-4 as presented for 50 State Street, Building G. That's the Copperleaf Brewing Company temporary permit.
Member Shannon?
Aye.
Member Loda?
Aye.
Member Halpin? Member Cook?
Aye.
Chair Bleastra?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And I'm just going to include the setback by Sutherland, so it's Steve resolved
So setback on the what?
Sutherland.
Oh, that's right. Let's see.
No, he did.
Okay.
They are coming back though. I'm sure the applicant will.
That's
He
true.
did write it down, so he can connect with him during office hours tomorrow, so they can share that with you guys.
Okay. You're talking about the front setback on the porch, yeah.
All right, well, I guess that's everything then. Anything, anyone else?
All good?
Okay, motion to adjourn then.
Second.
Member Cook?
Aye.
Member Halpin? Aye. Member Loda?
Aye.
Member Shannon?
Aye.
Chair Bleastra?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Okay.